Hi, my name is Sugendran Mahendran. My matrix number is 7382. I am currently a fourth year software engineering student from Faculty of Computer Science and Information Technology, UNIMAS. Today, I'll be doing a presentation on my final year project 1. My project is going to be titled Road to Graduation, UNIMAS Edition. But before starting my presentation, I would like to welcome the panelists who will be viewing my presentation today. Firstly, I would like to welcome my supervisor, Associate Professor Dr. Kadina, and also my examiner, Dr. Yanti Rosmuni, as well as the other panelists that will be viewing my presentation. So for my presentation outline, I'll be talking about a few topics that are outlined in the slides as shown here. So firstly, I'll be going through the introduction of my project. Then I'll be going to the problem statement, followed by the objectives and methodology. Then I'll be talking about the literature review which I've done, as well as the requirements analysis for my project. Next part will be UML diagrams and also the storyline for my project, followed by the interface designs, my expected outcomes, and the conclusion that I have for the project. Starting with the introduction of my project. My project is titled Road to Graduation UNIMAS Edition. What is Road to Graduation UNIMAS Edition? It is a 2D visual novel game that will be developed and will be published on platforms such as Windows operating system and also Android operating system for mobile gaming, and Windows will be for PC. So my game will act as a supplementary to the traditional orientation methods. And there's a backstory on why I have decided to carry out and proceed with my project. So every year, thousands of students will enroll in university. And the first thing that the students will face in their new university life is of course the orientation week. During the orientation week, students will be put through a week where information will be passed on to them, such as the university bureaucracy, day-to-day life, especially regarding their classes and how to deal with student matters and affairs. As well as they'll be introduced to the clubs and organizations that are available in that university. But I found that from my research, it is difficult in getting new students to engage in the activities during the orientation week, as some of these students may be shy and they also experience culture shock as it is the first time they are away from home. And secondly, there is too much information that is shared to the student at one particular time during the orientation week. On to the next part, which is the problem statement. So the problem statement is actually the problems that I've identified that the new students are actually facing during the first time that they're entering university. So the first problem I've identified is that these students have difficulties in decision making. They may have difficulties in making good decisions that are good for them, as this involves critical thinking that may have not been fully developed during the schooling period. Students also have a lack of exposure to essential values, and finally, the students have limited awareness to relevant issues that may bother them during their time in university. For the objectives of my project, I actually have three planned objectives. The first objective is to develop an engaging visual novel game, Road to Graduation UNIMAS Edition, which will be tailored to university students with a focus to UNIMAS students at first to help them to have a rough idea of the journey they have to undergo to reach graduation. The second objective for my project is to develop a dynamic choice-based visual novel game with an immersive narrative that will challenge the users to make critical decisions, fostering their critical thinking skills. And finally, the third objective for my project is to embed essential value such as responsibility, time management, and empathy within the game storyline to promote character development of players. For this project, the methodology that I have chosen to use for the development of this project is actually the Scrum Agile methodology. So basically, the Scrum process is like this. It starts off with a product owner which has an idea. So the team has to collaborate. The team of developers have to collaborate with the product owner to gather requirements and to make sure that their goals align with the product that they are going to code out. The team is going to be led by a Scrum Master who will make sure that these development stages are followed as planned and that they are able to deliver the project on time to the client, in and also in making sure that the client is satisfied with the project that is going to be planned. So during Scrum methodology, there are sprints. So sprints are basically short bursts of work that during each sprint, the product will be they will be dividing the tasks into a few tasks, and they'll get some requirements from the owner. And during these sprints, they will actually make certain features. Okay, for example, in one sprint, they will be making the start screen of the game. So that is actually part of the sprint, and during the whole process, it will consist of many sprints. Each sprint may last up to 4 weeks, being 1 week the shortest. And during the sprints, there are daily stand-ups to ensure that any problems faced by any team members is addressed, and also that they do not stray afar from their true objectives. Now, why do I even choose this methodology to begin with? So firstly, the Scrum methodology has many advantages, as it provides flexibility and to ensure that the developer does not stray from the goals that are supposed to be met, and this will lead to better product design. But for my part, since I'm a solo, going to be a soloist and going to be coding this project alone, I'm going to do a modified Scrum process, which will consist of 2 parts. The first part is actually the planning and architecture part, which involves identifying and evaluating key game components, where I will design the workflow and also the development and maybe the planning or the sprints that I should be doing for the project execution. And the second part will be the demonstration and closure, which I will take the finished prototype of the project and I will test the implemented functionalities and also let the users interact with it to make sure that the prototype actually meets the defined objectives in the first place. Now we are in the literature review section of the presentation. My literature review is going to be divided into 2 parts. The first part is where I attack the literature review from 4 different perspectives, and the second part is the comparison of existing games and review on existing games. So for the first part that I'm going to study on for my literature review in the analysis part is the issues that new students face when they begin to transition into university life. I found a few references to support that. The second part is critical thinking and essential values for university students. The third part that I have studied upon is the visual novel, game, and gamification. Finally, the last part is the digital games in Malaysia. So for this part of the literature review, I'll be talking about the review of existing games. I have selected 3 games for the review. The first game is called Roommates. It is a 2D visual novel game which is set in a university background. The second game is Campus Notes Forget Me Not, which is also a 2D visual novel game and it is set in a university background. Whereas the third game is called The Sims 4 Discovering University. It is actually an expansion pack for a current game that's available on market called The Sims 4. This expansion pack is based also in a university setting. So I'll be doing a comparison for the platform, price and language for all the 3 games. As shown in the table in the slide, platform for the game Roommates, it is available on Xbox, Windows PC, iOS, PlayStation 4, Nintendo Switch and PS Vita. The second game, The Sims 4, is also available on Windows PC, but it is available on Mac this time. It's available in both PlayStation 4 and 5 and also the Xbox, whereas Campus Notes Forget Me Not is only available to play on Windows OS. The price for each game varies a lot. So for Roommates, you can get it for free during promotions or for $24.99 US. The Sims 4 Discovering University will cost around $15.99 to $39.99 depending on how many characters you want to unlock. And the third game, Campus Notes, only costs $11.99 US. The language for the first game, Roommates, is supported in English, and Campus Notes Forget Me Not is also supported in English, and it has a second language, Japanese. Whereas The Sims 4 has a wide variety of language supported options, which are Czech, Danish, German, English, Spanish, Finnish, French, Italian, Japanese, Korean, Dutch, Norwegian, and the rest, as stated in the table shown in the slide. So as shown in the slide, there's a table which does a comparison of the art style for the three games, which compares it in terms of the camera angle and also the style of design which the game is styled in. So for the camera angle, Roommates and Campus Notes Forget Me Not are a 2D game, a two-dimensional game, whereas The Sims 4 Discovering University is a 3D game. The style for both Roommates and Campus Notes Forget Me Not is an anime style, whereas The Sims is styled in a semi-realistic style. For the requirements analysis part, I've done an analysis on what the requirements should be for the project that I'm about to carry out. So I've identified a few categories of potential users that are suitable for my project. The first category is new university students, followed by UNIMAS students and university students in general. The third category is those seeking guidance, where may be consisting of students who feel lost or they need some guidance. And the fourth category that I've identified is educational enthusiasts that like to play educational games that can give them some benefits and education. The next part that I'll be talking about is actually the functional requirements for my prototype. So the first requirement will be the prototype should include a title screen that enables players to commence the game, access credits and exit the prototype. The second requirement is the prototype must be able to allow the point and click gameplay to allow players to select choices that will help them progress to the game narrative. The third requirement is the prototype should be showing interesting facts about UNIMAS in a loading screen between chapters when the users play the narrative. And the final requirement is that the prototype must display a motivational dialogue to players at the end of the game. In this part, I'll be presenting my UML diagrams. The first diagram that I've created is the activity diagram. It starts off by allowing the users to click anywhere to proceed. Then the activity will go to a join where they are presented with three options. The first option is exit, the second option is start gameplay, and the third option is view credits. The users, if they choose to start the gameplay, they will begin the narrative and they will be presented with two options. They can simultaneously start the storyline and they can also open the in-game menu during the storyline. In the in-game menu, the users are able to adjust the volume and they also can go back to begin the narrative at the main menu at the start of the game. So when the users start the storyline, they have to make choices throughout the story to progress through the storyline. Once they are finished, they will reach the end scene, and which will lead to the ending of the game and the end of the whole process. The second UML diagram that I have here is a use case diagram. I have identified one actor for my use case, which is going to be the player of the game itself. So for the use cases, the first use case is the gameplay, where the users can start the gameplay. This will include the narrative of the gameplay. In the narrative, it will be extended. The narrative will extend into the game menu. And in the game menu, there is also included a volume option. The second use case that the user or the player can do is start the game. The third use case is the user or the player can exit the game, whereas the fourth use case is the player will be able to view the credits option. The third UML diagram that I have here is the sequence diagram. So I've identified the sequences that the user have to take from the start of the game till the end of the game. So for the start of the game, the users have to click anywhere to continue. This will allow them to start the game and bring them to the main menu of the game, where the users were able to begin the game, select the credits, or exit the game. So when the user begins the game, they'll be entered into the first scene. The first scene will include the start of the chapters. In these chapters, the users can access the in-game menu to change the volume or adjust the volume of the game. Then they can return to the gameplay as normal. At the end of each chapter, there will be a loading screen that will deliver interesting facts to the users. During the gameplay, the users are also need to make a choice to continue the gameplay. So if they make a correct choice, the gameplay or the storyline will continue, whereas if they make a wrong choice, a pop-up screen will pop up and show that the users have made a wrong choice, and it will explain why the choice is wrong. After that, the flow continues by the user finishing the storylines, and they will reach the end credits. Once they reach the end credits, the users will be returned back to the main menu. The last UML diagram that I have made is called the class diagram. This diagram contains the list of classes that will be involved in the making of the prototype. The first class that I've identified is called class start screen, which has the continue button of type boolean, and it can proceed to the main menu when people click the start screen. So after that, it is connected to the class main menu, which has a few attributes, which has a few types, of game options, credit options, and also the exit options, which are all of type strings. Here the users can select the actions to select the game, review credits, or even exit the game. Next, the main menu class will be connected to the game class, which includes the chapters, current chapters, and in-game menu, which are all of type string. Under here, there are a few actions that the user can take. Functions, which are the start chapter function, display choice, evaluate the choice, continue story, show wrong option choice pop-up, and end game choice. The game is also connected to a class called chapter. In chapters, there are story contents and choices which are of type string. Here there are a few functions which are display content and also present the choices to the user. The next class that I'm going to talk about is the class called choice, which has a few types called description, is correct and wrong reason, which of them is a type string, and it has two functions which are select and provide feedback. The next class I'm going to talk about is the in-game menu class, which contains the music volume, SFX volume, and also the main menu option, which are all of type integer. There are a few functions in here, which are mainly the adjust volume function, adjust SFX volume function, and return to main menu function. Last and final class, which is connected to the game class, is called the loading screen class. It has an interesting facts, which is of type string, and also it has a function to display the facts. For the storyline of the game, I have identified a protagonist for this game. He will be called Ash. Ash is a 19 years old kid that is from Kota Kinabalu, Sabah. He has just finished his high school studies and now is a new undergrad student in UNIMAS. So this game will consist of three main chapters, the storyline. The first chapter will be called Class and Daily University Dealings. In the first chapter, Ash will encounter his new world, which is his new life in UNIMAS. Ash will begin to start attending lectures in UNIMAS. He will join study groups and have many social interactions with other NPCs that are created throughout the game. The second chapter is called Student Life. Here, Ash will navigate through other activities that are available in the university. So firstly, Ash will join the volleyball team as he will spend a lot of time playing volleyball in the volleyball court. Ash will also start to join student organizations and learn the value of skills of leadership and time management. The third chapter will be called Challenges. Here, Ash is already in his final year. Ash starts to lose motivation as he is faced with many challenges. He is faced with many subjects and also other life challenges. Here Ash will learn the importance of self-care and the importance of making important decisions that will affect his life. Once the user completes all the three chapters, he will reach the graduation, or Ash will reach the graduation, where Ash will successfully graduate when the game ends with a happy motivational quote to encourage the players to strive on their journey in university. Moving on to the next part, it will be called interfaces. Here I'll be talking about all the interfaces that I have designed to show the concept of my prototype. So the first screen that can be seen in this slide here is called the start screen. And also there's the main menu screen followed by the credit screen. These three screens have something in common, which is they all have a black background with white text. This is to give a minimalistic appearance for the players when they first start the game, and to allow high contrast, which makes the text more visible and easy to read for the players. In this slide, there is the chapter screen. loading screen and also the story screen. So for the chapter screen, basically it will just show the chapter number and colorful pastel color background. Same with the loading screen. But in the loading screen, there will be a loading bar. So while the loading process continues, an interesting fact about UNIMAS will be played, and the players can actually read it and understand. The third screen is the story screen, where both characters will be placed at each end of the screen, left and right, with the text box next to them. In there, the text will be placed, and the players can read the text while they proceed through the narrative. This slide shows the three other interfaces that I have, which are the story screen with options, the wrong option screen, and also the in-game menu. So for the story screen with options, it's basically the story screen that was shown just now, but with options. So this is the part where the player have to select options for them to proceed through the storyline. They'll be presented with 2 or more options. In the wrong option screen, basically it will be the story screen, but with a wrong option pop-up box. The pop-up box will show that their option selected is wrong, and it will give the reason to why the option is wrong. The users need to read the pop-up box, and they can continue through the narrative after they are done reading the wrong option notice. The next screen is the in-game menu, where when users press the small menu button, there are 3 choices going to be presented to them. The first one is the volume, second is main menu, and the third is the back button. For the third interface screen, there are 3 interfaces here also. The first one is the volume slider screen, where there is 2 slider buttons, first for the music volume and second for the sound effects volume. The second screen I'm going to talk about is the you've graduated screen. This screen basically will be played after the end of the third chapter to tell the player that they have graduated from university. And the third screen is an end motivational quote for them to read before the game ends. Expected outcomes. These are the expected outcomes for my project. The first outcome is a fully functional and engaging choice-based educational game. The second outcome will be the enhancement of problem solving and critical thinking abilities. The third outcome will be the impartation of essential values through the gameplay. The fourth outcome will be the measurement of success through achievement of educational and motivational objectives, user feedback, and impact assessment. And the final outcome will be the production of a well-documented insights and findings for future educational game research and development from my prototype. In conclusion, it is hoped that my project is able to fulfill the set objectives, and for a functional and working prototype is able to be delivered in the second part of the FYP next semester. We have reached the end of the presentation for my final year project part 1. It's the end. Thank you very much for listening.